In Shino City, hitman Sakata finishes sharpening his blade and takes off in his fancy car. Later in a house near the beach, some Yakuza thugs report to their boss Kawano that a new gang is trying to take over the city. Irritated by his men's incompetence, Kawano puts a knife inside one of them and slashes his face. Meanwhile, outside, Sakata sneaks around and brings down every guard on his way. When blood starts dripping through a window and a man's legs appear on another, the men finally realize there's an intruder and rush to take Kawano to safety. While Sakata continues to fight and kill thugs on the roof, the men try to leave with Kawano through the door, but bodies block it, so they take him to the second floor instead. Sakata expertly uses his blade to end the thugs coming after him, sending them rolling down the stairs. Eventually, Kawano reaches his car only to discover the driver is already dead. After slashing a few more guys, Sakata is thrown through a glass door by a gangster. They start fighting hand-to-hand using any object or piece of furniture found in the room. Sakata falls and the man sits on him to stab him, but Sakata cuts off his hand and leaves him to bleed to death on the floor. Then he goes to Kawano's bedroom and uses a thug's body as a shield against Kawano's shots. A terrified Kawano tries to escape through the balcony, but Sakata quickly catches up and finally kills him. When a thug tries to shoot Sakata by surprise, he's killed first by Sakata's handler Fujita. On their way out, Fujita pays Sakata for this mission and asks him not to retire, but Sakata refuses because his family is his priority now. All this is seen by someone in the shadows. Afterwards, Sakata goes home to his wife Aw and his daughter Ryo and takes a shower before dinner. While Sakata is changing, he hears his family screaming and finds some men wearing demon masks surrounding his family. They thank Sakata for getting rid of Kawano's gang because now their group called the Kim and Gyumi can control the city. When one of the men grabs Ryo, Sakata tackles him and gets ready to shoot him, but he freezes when another thug shoots something on the table. Then the man starts beating Sakata up on the floor. Ryo begs the guy not to hurt her father, so Aoi rushes to get her out of the way before begging for mercy and tears. Tired of her crying, a man shoots her in the head. A furious Sakata tells Ryo to run before he attacks the strangers, but a man shoots the girl. While Sakata has a breakdown, the gang leader says that there's a demon in the city that possesses someone once every 50 years, causing them to go on a killing spree. The Kim and Gumi's duty is to protect the city from such demon, but Sakata still promises to kill them all one day. The man say they'll wait for that day before shooting Sakata too. Soon the police find the family and assume Sakata shot Ryo and Aoi before self-deleting. 12 years later, Mayor Sanahara is talking to the press, explaining how he transformed Shijo City from a dangerous crime-infested area into a beautiful place of progress. He also announces that they'll be opening an integrated resort with a theater, shopping, and casino. A journalist named Kamema tries to ask about all the people who have gone missing and been killed in the last decade, including the leader of the group opposing the resort construction, but Sanahara says it's all factless rumors. In the meantime, Sakata has been living in a vegetative state in a medical prison. When his sentence is finally over, Fujitao comes to pick him up and takes him to an apartment in the slums, proving that the city isn't doing as great as propaganda says. Days start to pass and Sakata is taken care of by Fujitao's relative Raj, who baits him, feeds him, and takes him on walks. One evening when they're returning to the apartment, a criminal suddenly jumps on them and stabs Sakata's arm as he screams his name. It turns out this is the thug whose hands Sakata cut off years ago and he wants revenge, but Sakata still doesn't react. At the same time, Kamema is meeting with the guy with the slashed face to ask him about the Kim and Gyumi. The thug thinks Sakata was hired by the Kim and Gyumi, and Kamema notices the day of the attack as the same date as the resort getting its business license. All this happened around the time Sanahara became heir. The thug also explains that the Kama Gyumi gets their money from human trafficking and illegal substances. The conversation is interrupted by a masked man who breaks the van's window, causing Kamema to run away in fear. The man runs after him to kill him with a hammer while a second masked guy takes the thug out of the van. Then the man put the hammer in the thug's hand and give him a gun to force him to self-delete. They watch him die before they receive an important call. At home, Fujita is practicing ping pong while thinking about the whole deal with Sakata and how he told the Kim and Gyumi about the family, but they didn't listen to him when he asked them not to kill them. At that moment, he gets a call with surprising news. At the hospital, police chief Katero comes to check on the victim of a hobo fight in the neighborhood. He gives the two guarding officers some money so they can take a break, then he enters the room, revealing the victim is Sakata. Katero is now wearing a demon mask and asks Sakata if he recognizes him, which means he's one of the Kim and Gyumi who killed Sakata's family. As he takes an injection from his coat, Katero explains that 12 years ago when the group realized Sakata was still alive, they received orders not to shoot him again, but he always thought they should have killed him. Then Katero and Jack Sakata's for, unaware that his voice is slowly bringing Sakata out of his vegetative state. When Katero gets ready for a selfie, he sees Sakata moving again. After accidentally falling, Sakata grabs Katero and makes him fall, followed by some choking. However, Katero hits Sakata with a few objects to push him off and lands a few kicks to knock him out. At that moment, the officers come back and Katero has to take off the mask to stop them from shooting. As soon as the guards turn around, Katero puts on the mask again and shoots an officer in the face, using a pillow to cover the noise. The other officer isn't surprised because he's also part of the Kim and Gyumi. When they discover a doctor saw all this, they shoot him as well. Suddenly, Sakata wakes up and jumps on Katero, so the officer tries to defend his boss, which triggers a fight among the three of them. The officer ends up falling and stuck between the bed and wall while Katero keeps on kicking Sakata, who manages to hit his enemy's head before trying to use the fourth line to to choke him. Kotaro defends himself, and in the struggle they push the officer through the window. Then Sakata tries the fourth line again, and when Kotaro takes it off, Sakata finishes strangling him with the bed sheets. When Fujitan and Raj arrive at the hospital, they're shocked to see Sakata walk out. He grabs some food on his way out, which triggers a memory of his family's death, further feeding his desire for revenge. The news of Sakata's revival reaches the Kim and Gyumi, including the guys working in the illegal factory and moving the girls for sale. The leader is delighted to hear this and calls Sakata a demon loose in the city, so he starts dancing to celebrate with an ancient ritual. Soon Fujita receives a message from the Kim and Gyumi asking him to bring them Sakata's dead body. The group drives to the factory, and Sakata's body is dropped in a bag before Fujita and Raj leave. Once the bag is thrown on a conveyor machine, Sakata comes out and punches a guard before leaving the room. The factory owner Takamoto sees Sakata fighting a bunch of his employees on the cameras and immediately warns the gate guard, who opens fire at the van. Raj is immediately killed, but Fujitada is only wounded and quickly shoots the guards back. After Takamoto consumes his own product, he puts on the mask that marks him as one of the killers of Sakata's family. Meanwhile, Sakata moves through the different areas of the factory, bringing down every thug in his way by using items he finds around or even smashing their heads on the wall, railings, and machinery. A worker picks up Sakata with a loader truck and covers him with trash before dropping him on the floor, so Sakata throws a knife to kill him. Another worker in a cart opens fire, so Sakata jumps on him to derail the vehicle and steals the gun to kill a few more men. Some workers jump into the cart with him and Sakata kills them with his knife, then he jumps off right before the cart crashes. Still hungry for revenge, Sakata continues to make his way through the stairs and a quarter, always killing all the men who try to stop him. When he reaches the office floor, he discovers Takamoto is already outside pressing a button on his phone. At that moment, the building blows up and Takamoto receives a call from the leader, who saw the explosion and congratulates a button on his phone. At that moment, the building blows up and Takemoto receives a call from the leader, who saw the explosion and congratulates him on his success. However, Takemoto hangs up when he sees Sakata coming out of the building protecting himself with a blanket. It looks like another fight is about to begin, but Takemoto is run over Fujita. He apologizes to Sakata for telling the Kim and Gyumi about his family and agrees he deserves an end too, so Sakata doesn't hesitate to shoot him. Afterwards, Sakata hangs Takamoto and starts beating him up, but Takamoto only laughs and swears loyalty to his leader. At that moment, Takamoto's phone rings and Sakata hears the leader's voice. He furiously destroys Takamoto's mask as the leader reveals that his daughter is still alive. The leader turns out to be Mayor Sanahara, and he explains that all these criminal activities bring the money to make the city progress. If Sakata wants to see his daughter again, he must let Takamoto go. However, Sakata kills Takamoto anyway. In the morning, reporters talk about all the attacks that happened last night and blame them on Sakata, saying he died in the factory explosion. Meanwhile, Ryo is now a teenager being watched by Kanta, another one of the masked men. He's in charge of the Kim and Gyumi's human trafficking business and likes to stare at Ryo in inappropriate ways. Sanahara calls him and orders him to find Sakata, who has been hiding since the incident. In a humble neighborhood, police officer Takagawa returns to his apartment and notices the window was opened before being startled by Sakata. It turns out that many years ago Sakata saved Takagawa's life, and since then the officer has been passing him information. Takagawa shows Sakata a video of the Kim and Gyumi killing the CEO of a security company. He also has the finger of the victim. Now that company handles the security at the new resort. After stealing Takagawa's gun, Sakata goes to the security company headquarters and kills thugs on every floor until he finds a small living space. While Ryo hides behind a couch, Sakata finds a board full of pictures of his daughter with Kana posing as her father. At that moment, Kana comes in and the men immediately start to fight. While Ryo uses the chance to run away, Sakata overpowers Kana and starts throwing him against the furniture all over the room. Kana retaliates by hitting Sakata with a table before trying to shoot him, but Sakata dodges and starts fighting him for the gun. When Kana hits him with a decoration to bring him down, he also insults him, and Sakata finally realizes this is the guy that killed his wife. The gun is jammed, so Sakata is about to end this, but suddenly Ryo comes back and calls Kata father before shooting Sakata with her school bow. Sakata is too shocked to dodge, and the arrow hits him in the chest before Kata pushes him through the window. Kata then looks out and discovers Sakata is escaping in a car. It turns out Takagawa is driving Sakata around and takes him to a safe spot where he can remove the arrow and take care of the wound. At that moment, Takagawa gets a call from Sanahara, who saw him on the cameras and asks him to pass the phone to Sakata. Then Sanahara tells Sakata that if he wants to see Ryo again, he must come to the resort. Without caring about his wound, Sakata drives to his hideout to grab his old blade and fancy car. Meanwhile, Ryo is locked up in a room at the resort. There are guards on every floor and every corner with plenty of weapons. Suddenly, Sakata's empty car appears outside as a distraction, while Sakata himself sneaks inside to start killing thugs with his blade and the guns he takes from the dead men. He also uses any objects in the room like cargo carts and the fire extinguisher. When he takes the stairs, the fight continues, and Sakata never stops killing men as he keeps going higher and higher. Most of the thugs are easy to kill, but eventually he finds a guy with a sword who manages to hurt him before he gets killed too. Pushing through the pain, Sakata keeps going until he encounters Kata. The men fight again, and at first it seems their skills are on the same level. As he dodges attacks like a pro, Kata complains about Sakata showing upright when Ryo's body is starting to develop, offering creepy descriptions of her. Kata is about to stab Sakata, but he stops the blade and only gets a scar on his cheek. Then Sakata steals the blade and stabs Kata's eye before hitting him in the head to knock him out. More thugs come after him, so by the time Sakata makes it to the last floor, he's exhausted. When he enters a room, he's shocked to find Ryo, who doesn't recognize him. This distraction allows the last masked man named Jin to knock Sakata out. Moments later, Sakata is taken to Sanahara, who tells Ryo about the legend of the city demon. Sanahara wants Sakata to become that demon and gets his sword ready to kill Ryo, only for Takagawa to burst in with open fire. Most of the guards quickly die, and Sanahara uses one of his men as a shield to leave the room. Sakata calls Ryo's name, and his words make her remember the day of the incident, revealing that the shot had hit her toy. She runs to hide with Takagawa while Sakata fights Jin, who uses a metal staff. Sanahara returns to watch how easily Jin overpowers Sakata, who manages to only land a hit or two while Jin continues to beat him up. However, after lots of struggle, Sakata finds an opening and stabs Jin before throwing him on the stairs. Afterwards, Sanahara takes off Jin's mask, revealing he's his twin brother, except Jin has a burn mark on his face. A flashback shows how they were kept apart as kids at first, but once they met, Jin would do anything for Sanahara, even kill. Meanwhile, Takagawa is trying to leave the building with Ryo, who decides to go back for her father. After putting on his mask, Sanahara starts fighting Sakata using a sword. Since Sakata is already heavily wounded, it's easy for Sanahara to slash him over and over until he cuts off Sakata's free hand. This isn't enough to stop Sakata, who keeps dragging his weak body to throw more attacks. Sanahara blocks all his blows but still gets excited because he sees that Sakata has truly become the demon of the city. Both men suddenly attack and stab each other at the same time, so Sakata uses the chance to unmask Sanahara and finally kill him with a blow to the head. Then Sakata rolls down the stairs and notices Ryosa everything. She tries to come closer, but at that moment Kanta reappears to shoot Sakata. Next, Kata tries to reunite with Ryo, who doesn't want anything to do with him now that she remembers he killed her mom. He begs for her attention, and Sakata appears behind him to finally kill him with his blade. Sakata collapses in Ryo's arms and offers a few words of affection before dying. Sometime later, the police, firefighters, and doctors arrive to pick up all the bodies and wounded people. One of these bodies is Jin, who is still alive. Ryo is told to wait in the ambulance, but while everyone is distracted, she runs away. A year later, Jin is pretending to be his brother and wins the elections by getting sympathy for his scar. After an interview, Jin wears the leader's mask and performs a ritual in a shrine in the forest. At that moment, Ryo shows up and shoots Jin with multiple arrows until he's dead. Then she leaves in her father's car, where she keeps a family picture. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.